BigBear.AI stock was down last week, around about 12%. It is up 27% on the month and almost 150% in the last 12 weeks. So this stock is looking bullish, but last week it does look as if it's showing signs of weakness. So in this video, I'm going to conduct a price analysis for BigBear.AI and talk about some potential entries and also potential exits in the next couple of weeks. Let's take a look. I'd like to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/DavidB for the 5 best stocks to buy now. Use my special link to get $200 off their epic annual subscription. Now, if you find value in my analysis of Big Bear stock today or other stocks on my channel, you may also find value in my email newsletter. If you subscribe, I'll share with you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. Link down below, check it out. So BigBear.AI stock was down almost 12% last week, and it is now showing signs of slight weakness. So we can see here, since it found that support at $6, this was a bullish week. That week commencing 14th of July. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 strong days up, and then there was some selling on the Friday of the 18th of July. Now, last week was more bearish for this stock. So you can see here on the Monday, it did trade higher and try to push towards this level of 873, but it got rejected. There were some sellers in the market. It got sold off down to around about 740 and closed low for that Monday. Now, on Tuesday, we had that reversal. There was a hammer candlestick action there. So it opened around about 740 where it closed on the Monday. It got sold off. It got pushed down. It found support around about 688. Buyers came back in. It ended up closing just under the open to create that candlestick, that hammer candlestick. So next day, Wednesday, buyers came back in, more of a bullish day. It opened about 752, closed high at 794, just under $8. And then on the Thursday, more indecision from the market. So it opened a bit lower at about 780. Buyers tried to take it up. It got rejected around about $8, and then it closed low for the day. And then on the Friday, the 25th of July, it was also bearish. So price opened around about 780. It got sold off, and it ended up closing low on that Friday at around about 737. And you can see that Friday's price action, opening here and closing here, it has just closed almost around about or below the trend line that I've drawn here, which takes into account this price trough down here around about 378 and the recent low here created on the Tuesday the 22nd. So this line here, this just illustrates the overall momentum of Big Bear as it's moved up to challenge this price level up here around about 875. It's had 2 attempts, but it has been rejected on both occasions. Now, I like the way this was setting up because it did surge up here to have the first attempt. It got sold off. It found that higher support at $6, which was very positive. It then moved up again, bullish 2 weeks ago, got rejected, and of course, last week it did get sold off somewhat. So overall last week, the sellers were in control. They did take the price down to the close around about 738. So we're now at a critical point for Big Bear. Next week is going to be really important to indicate which way this is going to go. We're almost halfway between this $6 support level and this level up here of around about 870. So almost in between. And you can see I've marked up these 2 lines here, just indicating where price closed on Friday, around about this level here of 738. And I've also marked up the line under this low, which was created on the Tuesday, and that's around 688. So we've got price action trying to move up. It's come up here, created this high, pulled back to create this higher base. It's had a second attempt and got rejected. It's come back now to create again this higher base. So still looking bullish, but on the Wednesday and the Thursday, it moved up and got rejected. So now we've got this lower high. Next week's going to be critical because if price can hold this level here and move up once again, it might move up again and challenge this level once again and have a third attempt. But if the selling's too strong next week, there's a risk that this price action is going to close well below this momentum line here. And potentially, if it breaks this low here of around 688 and price closes anytime next week under this level here, we're going to be moving into this bearish territory and potentially price is going to fall and test the $6 level once again. So next week, for the buyers to regain control, I'd like to see price action move up from here and move back into this zone here to challenge this level once again. But if there's more indecision, we might see sell off on Monday or Tuesday and price action come back into this middle zone here. And then for the more bearish case, if sellers take full control next week and price gets pushed down underneath this low, then it's more likely that price is going to come back and test this $6 support once again. So since the breakout, we've had price move up rapidly to challenge this level here of 874. It got rejected, came back to find this higher base at $6, very positive. Then it moved up once again. The buyers came back in 2 weeks ago to take the price back up to have another go at this key level of 873. Got rejected again, came back, and now last week on that Tuesday, it did find support around about 691. So that's positive. However, buyers came back in last week to close out the week. They could only take it back up to $8. So they couldn't get close to this level up here. The selling was stronger and it ended up closing low at this level here on 736. And you could argue, did it close underneath the line or thereabouts? You can argue either way. But what's clear now is Big Bear is at risk now of losing its momentum. I think for this trend to continue and for the bulls to take back control, I want to see a strong Monday. I want to see price reverse and come back up to here on the Monday or the Tuesday. If sellers take control next week early on, we could see price move down here to test 690. And if they take full control, the sellers could take the price back down into this zone around about $6 before potentially it finds support, and then it could have a third attempt to take the price back up. So next week is going to be critical in terms of which way the price is going to go. So with this price action unfolding now, it's probably not a good time to be buying into Big Bear for a trade over the short term. There's just too much risk at the moment. Of course, if you're thinking about long term, that's a different proposition. Don't forget, the company is not profitable yet, doesn't pay a dividend, so it would be a speculative, buy and possible hold for this stock. And of course, we've got earnings in about 3 weeks' time, so that also adds in more volatility, more risk. So it could be an idea to wait until after earnings to think about buying into this stock at all. Now that Big Bear looks as if it might be just slowing down and possibly losing some momentum, if you're holding this stock, you might be thinking about now when to exit this stock to take a profit. So let's talk about some ideas about that now. So one trade example to think about, if you entered the stock around about this $6 level here and you were targeting the line up here of 876, this initial trade setup would have had a 44% upside, 20% stop loss to manage the volatility, a risk to reward of 2.18. So if you took that trade about 2 to 3 weeks ago, you would have seen price obviously move up from your entry down here all the way up to this level here. And you might have taken profit there, you might have been out of the trade, or you might have been kept holding, hoping for price to break through and perhaps reach $10. So you might be wondering now, what to do with Big Bear now that you're in this trade at $6. The first thing you could have done as price moved up was move your stop loss up to break even at $6. As price moved up, you could have moved that stop up a bit further for a trailing stop, around about 20% under the price action. Very difficult to manage because of the volatility day to day, but you could have moved it up perhaps to around, maybe $7 to lock in some profits. But if you didn't and the stop is still sitting at $6, you might be thinking now, okay, where is my exit for Big Bear if it goes bearish next week? You can see on screen I've marked up that low from last week of 690, which was created on Tuesday session. So you've got that low as a marker. So if you did enter at $6, then you would have seen price action take off for that entire week. And then now it's pulled back last week to create this new higher low. Now, next week, if price comes down on Monday or Tuesday and it falls through this level, it breaks that low from last Tuesday, that would be your exit trigger to sell this stock and get out and secure some profit. We can see, based on Dow theory, this is your lower peak or lower high. And then, of course, next week, if it breaks this level here, then you've got your lower low. So lower high followed by a lower low confirms that price is moving down and you can sell on confirmation. So that's a bearish scenario next week. If it takes out that low of 690, that could be an exit trigger for you to take your profits and exit the stock. Perhaps re-enter at $6 support once price perhaps comes down to that zone. So that's a bearish scenario for next week. What about the bull scenario? Well, it's possible next week that Big Bear pushes up once again. You can see here it found support on Tuesday. The buying ran out, sellers took control, closed low on Friday. So next Monday or Tuesday, if the buyers come back in strong, we might see this level hold. This might be the low. We might see buyers take control and have another go immediately next week to challenge this level of 875. So that will be bullish early in the week. And of course, if buyers are strong enough and price action raises above this level, so if it takes out this level here, about 876, these two peaks, you could definitely enter on confirmation into Big Bear and trade it up, targeting that next $10 level and beyond. So that's an option for you if you want to enter this stock next week. Price has to break above these two peaks to confirm that the buyers are in control. So those are my thoughts on Big Bear. This stock is looking good overall. It does look as if now there's a bit of weakness there. Next week will be critical to see if the buyers come back in and want to take it higher, or is it going to take a breather for a couple of weeks and perhaps fall back down to find support at $6. Next week will be critical to indicate direction. Let me know what you think in the comments about last week's price action. Are you still bullish on Big Bear? Do you think it's going to find support next week and push higher? Or are we going to see more selling next week and perhaps it's going to come back to test $6? Thanks for watching.